called the first stage of the damage response. And what that means is that it enters when stress exceeds the capacity of restorative sleep to repair damage. And the mitochondria change. That's the key thing to understand, is the mitochondria change from what's known as the classic anti-inflammatory type of mitochondria. It's called M2, for those who want to know. You enter into a whole different type of mitochondria. It changes. It now doesn't depend on oxygen and oxidalysis, which those of you who've studied cell metabolism know is not the best way to approach things. But in this case, the cell says, I've got to cocoon. I don't want to use as much oxygen, little bit of oxygen that I have to be able to heal. And so it is a protective mechanism to really start to clean out the damage, to pull out the dead cells, to do everything that is needed. Now, that's what normally happens. And you hope that you're going to be able to get past that to enter into what's called CDR2, which is the second stage of this cycling. And this is when all of those cells that were dead need to be replaced, and they're replaced by stem cells. And when the stem cells take over, the mitochondria change again. They change into a form which is called an M0 mitochondria, which now depends on another type of energy function, which is known as an aerobic glycolysis, phosphorylation and glycolysis. The cell is mightily trying to get back to normal. And if it enters into CDR3, which is that third stage, what does that mean? Well, in that stage, what it's saying is, okay, I've managed to clean away the dead cells. I've started to produce new cells. Now I want those cells to differentiate. I want them to remodel. I want to create new types of cells that are going to have good innervation and so on. So the cells in CDR3 stop dividing as very early cells do because they need that for healing. Now they're saying, let me get back to normal function. I want to communicate with other cells again. I want to have those connections. And that will happen when it returns the mitochondria back to its anti-inflammatory phenotype, meaning the new type of mitochondria which we normally utilize. If all of that works well, you now get back to the health cycle. But what happens if it doesn't work? Well, if it doesn't work, you get all of these different diseases, which I've put on this presentation, and we'll be able to send this out to you. This is not a small problem. This really deals with the classic aspects of almost everything that we see today in major chronic illnesses. So what are the key takeaways? Chronic disease is driven by metabolic dysfunction, which is a consequence of the natural healing cycle becoming blocked. And most chronic illnesses are caused by the biological reaction to an injury, not the initial injury. It's what happens after. And if the cells get caught in a repeating loop of incomplete recovery, re-injury, then they're unable to fully heal. They can't recover. So what you want to do is direct your treatments at the underlying processes that are blocking the healing cycle. And in that way, to fix the underlying issue of impaired healing. And with that, thank you. That's the end of that little presentation.
I want to thank you a million, Dr. Gonshor, for explaining the science behind what we've been talking about for 25 years at least, ability of the body, and it takes time to heal. And as we sort of, the term I use is metabolic chaos. You just explained it. I always zoom out and get that big picture. Metabolic chaos is the phrase that I would ascribe to the situation you just described, the response of each cell. Here's something for the FDNs to remember. We've always said that the root cause may not always be known because it's hard to discover the root cause. And there are multiple root causes in most of these chronic conditions, and now add root causes. Some may never be known because there's not enough testing around. But here's what this article just told us. They may be gone. The original injury or root cause may have disappeared and long gone, but it's ongoing inability of cells to get back to normal, the interaction between them. And that is something that we can handle with all natural. I mean, there's no diagnosis for that. There's no drug for that. It's a matter of finding the underlying causes or getting as close to them as you can to have an effect upon them. Remedies for everything.
And I think you're right. And I think the beautiful thing is, and the reason for these lectures every 2 weeks, is that it is backed up by science. And I think anything else is wishful thinking. And you get into a loop where you're not ultimately going to be able to deal properly on a day-to-day basis with the healing of your patients or clients.
Yes, sir. Well, I think that's good. Detective Ev, are you going to close this up so that people can show up, get it tidbit? They can listen over and over again, as these will be recorded and archived.
Right. Well, I think technically Dr. Gonshor will close it out because he's got to say his special words before the jingle. The one thing I'll add really quick is if you guys want to catch the replays, it is not too late. We have so many cool events that have already happened. entraining.com/summer. You can get registered there for free to catch all the other events live for free. And then the recordings are available for where you can comment to us, chat with us. It's really awesome. So that's all I got. And then Dr. Gonshor